In this lesson, we are going to be looking at for loops. A loop is something that has to be repeated over and over again for a certain amount of time. In Python, a loop looks something like this. As you can see in here, we are looping through a list of items and we are storing every single item of that list in a variable named item, and then we are doing something for each of those items. So in here it might look confusing and unclear, so let's look at this in code. So let's say we have a list of fruits which contains 3 fruits: apple, peach and pear, and we want to print every single one of these using a for loop. So what we can do is, first we use the for keyword for a for loop, and then inside that we give a random name for each of these fruits. I will name them fruit. Make sure that the name is not identical to the list that you are looping through. Then we are going to be using the n keyword, and then we are going to provide our fruits list. Then we are going to come down and indent our line one level. So let's look at what's happening over here. What it will do is, in here it will replace this fruits with this value of the fruits list. So it will be something like this. After that, it will take the first element inside this list and then store that inside a variable named fruit. Or if you provided a variable name like n, it will store it inside a variable named n. And then later on inside this you can perform actions by using that variable. So we wanted to print each of these fruits. So what we'll do is we will print the fruit. So what this will do is it will loop through the first element, which is apple, store that inside the fruit variable, and then we will print apple. Then it will come back to this loop and then check for the second element. Then it will store the second element inside a variable named fruit, and then we are printing the second element. After that, it will come back again for the last time and it is going to look for the third element. Then it will store that inside a variable named fruit, and then we are just printing the third element. So if I run my code, as you can see, that's what happened. It printed apple, peach and pear all in order. Now you don't necessarily have to perform actions using the fruit variable. You can do other things as well. Like we can print out using an f string fruit and then pie. So what this will do is it will take our fruit, for example apple, and then add pie to it. So we'll have apple pie, peach pie, pear pie. So if I run the code, as you can see, it first printed the fruit as we have right here. Then it printed the fruit with pie added to it, like shown over here. Then it did the same thing for every single fruit like this. So apple, then apple pie, peach, then peach pie, and finally pear, then pear pie. Now we can also print out the list itself. Like at the end we can print out fruits. If I run it now, as you can see, after each of these it is printing out the list. So we have printed out the list 3 times. But what if we just want to print out the list one time? Then we have to unindent this line. As you can see, this line was previously indented, meaning it was included inside the for loop. So it will print the fruits list every time this loop runs. But if we unindent it, then it will come outside the for loop and then it will be printed after the for loop is finished. So if I run my code right now, as you can see, it performed all of these actions and then after that it printed out our list fruits. In the next video, I have a coding exercise for you which will test your knowledge of for loops. So for all of that and more, I'll see you there.